Hey, friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started.
Welcome to the Matrimonial Merger. We are recording live from the ghetto tonight. How are you, Ambry?
I'm good. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. Apparently, there's a rumor going around our neighborhood that the SWAT team is down the road. Meanwhile, we're sitting here recording.
We're just hiding out in our basement.
Yeah, I did not know we lived in the ghetto. So, nice. Well, Ambry, how was your week?
So far, so good.
Good.
Halfway through the week now, and
I feel like I'm actually seeing you a little bit more this week, except for today.
Except for every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good week. We've got a few houses under contract for investment purposes, and that's always exciting. And now we're just ready to record this podcast and get chunky.
Oh, man.
You were just waiting for me to say that.
I was just waiting for the get chunky.
You couldn't wait.
So here's the deal. Ambry and
what the heck does that even mean?
Ambry and I are following a strict workout plan. And so if our diet, or if our coaches are listening to that workout plan, I'm struggling today. If our coaches are listening to this episode, don't judge. We may or may not have had some blocks tonight in preparation for the get chunky.
Oh, wow. I see what you did there.
Yeah, getting chunky, eating chunky food. Anyways, shout out to Blocks. It's delicious. For those that are not in Utah, just wait.
I don't know
it's coming.
If it's other places, but
it's coming.
Stay away.
Stay away.
Far
Anyways,
away.
So episode today is Let's Get Chunky. And, oftentimes when we're arguing, we are focused more on a micro scenario. And what I mean by micro, I'm going to use the word detailed. Very detailed scenario, right?
Yeah, or specific to that, like that
very
situation.
Very specific, right. And, the issue with that is it really about that micro situation? Like you're having the best day and all of a sudden, like you spill milk on the floor and you get mad? Is that really the reason?
Right. And I think it depends because everyone handles their frustrations differently. But like if you're one to kind of just like to sit there and this is frustrating, this is bothering me, but you just kind of brush it off, let it go, and don't address it or like actually figure out why that's frustrating you, then at some point, like that spilled milk or whatever is going to tip you over the edge. Mm-hmm. And then you're looking at a micro situation, but it's not just about that situation. It's a lot of little things that led up to it.
And generally there's a macro situation involved, and macro is more broad, right? Mm-hmm. So as we get into this episode, we're going to use the terms micro and macro, mainly because I like economics, let's be honest. But we're going to use it in this case, micro means very detailed, very specific, and macro means very broad. Okay? So going into this episode, I want you all to think of a time when something truly bothered you or made you frustrated. We're not frustrated today, right?
Yeah.
But at a time.
We're all happy.
We're all happy and healthy.
You're happy. You're motivated. We're just going to talk about things that one might experience.
Yeah, one might experience, right? So ultimately, something happens and it starts to ruin your day. And it starts to trickle down to others around you potentially.
Maybe you're just going to ignore people or just kind of be frustrated or upset all day.
Yeah.
Or just have kind of a, less than ideal attitude or
edgy.
You're just irritable.
Yeah.
Mad, frustrated. You don't feel validated.
Yeah.
All the things.
So now that you have a specific situation in your mind, right? Think about it for a second. at the end of this episode, you'll have some tools to help you become a master of your thoughts and emotions so that when and if you were to experience another argument, you could use the tools that we're providing you to make this a win-win in a very, what one would say, ecological like outcome. There you go.
Yeah, not only like your thoughts and emotions, but also like be able to look out and understand and see the emotions and thoughts of those around you differently and maybe help them.
For sure.
At the same time. Because sometimes I think if you don't understand these techniques, it's hard to understand and really evaluate your own emotions and feelings and why you're feeling the way you are. Like, this situation is just what tipped me over the edge. Like, that's it. That's the situation. When really it was like a combination of several things.
You know, and it's interesting is like, Ambry, you had something today where you use this chunking method in a situation where someone just kind of, you know, took out their feelings on you, right?
Did I?
At the kid to kid.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a situation, we won't get into the details, we'll spare you, but a situation where you were able to use this chunking method to get you out of what would have in the past put you into a very, like, I don't want to use the word negative, I don't want to speak for you, but a very different environment, right?
Totally.
So, like, how does that make you feel? Like, when you get put into this environment, let's say, for example, someone lashes out to you. Like, what does that make you feel?
A stranger decides to just, like, completely go at your throat.
Or the guy, like, flips you off on the side of the road because you forgot to turn on your blinker,
which is, like, for one, just crazy to me because I don't know. Like, I am not perfect by any means, but, like, I just can't imagine myself, like, lashing out at someone. If you ever see me do that, anyone, please call me out on it because it's just not okay.
Start chunking up.
don't just. Anyways, don't even get me started. But I don't know. I think it's so much easier to show our like thoughts and emotions to those that we're closest to, right? Like that's why this is such a really important technique to learn, and that's why it's so important for us to always be trying to improve and refine. But like when people, I don't know, I just think it's weird. Like when you have no idea another person's like world and what they're going through and vice versa. And you just like unload and lash out and just be absolutely mean to this person. Like,
for sure.
So it's important in those situations and in situations where you're close to the person to be able to be in control of your own emotions and not be completely like deterred and affected by the way the other person is acting for good or bad. Like, does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
So
I think of like,
it's a small tangent there, but I feel like that's important.
I do think that like oftentimes if you allow someone to get into your mental headspace, like you become a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
And the people around you can sense it. And there's this energy. And then all of a sudden, like that energy is being felt by everyone in the room. And then everyone's kind of walking on eggshells. We've all been there before, right? We've all felt that. Where it's like,
the worst.
Oh man, like so-and-so is not having it today. Like, let's just kind of back off a little bit. And realistically, it makes no one in the room feel good because that person is feeling that way. And not only that, it makes you feel like crap because you're dealing with this very small like aspect, but it's allowing you to, or you're allowing it to take over your day.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like, to bring back the title of the episode, Let's Get Chunky. That probably is just sounds completely random still, but the reason that the title of this episode is Let's Get Chunky is because we're going to talk briefly today about a solution that can help in situations like this and can also help you in like any communication situation, whether it's like sales or, acquisition or whether it's
true.
Dealing with employees. Like there's so many areas. I think, because Jesse and I are married, like a lot of the things that we talk about go back to like intimate relationships, but this also applies to so many areas and aspects of life. So what we're talking about today is chunking. And this is a tool used in a lot of like psychology, but specifically what we're going to talk about is used in neurolinguistic programming, so NLP. And Jesse, do you want to explain kind of simply what chunking up and chunking down is?
Absolutely. So let's use an example of an apple. Okay. So we're talking about apples right now. And if I wanted to chunk up, I'm going to think broader than an apple, right? So I would say fruit. Okay. So did everyone follow me there?
Sure.
So I'm saying fruit. Now I can go even broader if I want to continue to chunk up and say tree, right? And I could even go broader than that and chunk up and say seed, right? Where the tree derives from. That's chunking up. So chunking up is going broader than the current situation you're talking about. Chunking down, if I wanted to go into it starting at the apple point again, I would get in very specifics of the apple. Red
Crisp,
apple.
Juicy, red.
Yep. I'd get into
golden delicious.
Exactly. I would say like
varieties.
Honey Crisp apple, right? Honey Crisp apple with the side of caramel. Yum.
Nice.
Like you could get very, very specific, right?
Yeah.
And that's where chunking down goes. So,
and there's also another aspect of it called chunking across, which would be like if we're at apples and caramel, you could chunk across and say like celery and ranch.
Sure.
And like go to like another.
Why would you ever chunk across about celery and ranch though?
From
Really?
caramel and apple.
Just kidding. Celery
Good
and ranch is
question.
okay.
Okay, we'll chunk back across over to our apple and caramel
Yes.
since that's what everyone wants.
So don't get lost. Like once again, you're
man.
going more broad when you're chunking up, and you're going more fine detail
And that's
when you're chunking
really
down.
all we're going to focus on today is like going between general and then detail and back to general or vice versa. So, alrighty. So what can it look like sometimes when you are just absolutely like, you're done. You've had it. Like you're frustrated, you're angry. It's like we said, it's translating over to our relationships with our family. We're irritable. Like our kids probably start to feel a little bit, I don't know, edgy or just acting out for attention because they can feel this just negative energy in the home.
Sure.
That's what it can look like in the home. In a workspace, it could look like you're just unhappy with the results of everyone around you. Like no one's doing anything right. There's no...
Your boss sucks. Your boss is out to get you.
Everything,
Yep.
something happens and all of a sudden, like, everything is bad. Like, there's no... You can't see the good in the situation at all. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So...
And this kind of reminds me, like, to put it into a real life scenario. This happened the other day. So we're at a gas station, and we, being our daughter Quincy and I, we are at this gas station, and this guy like is standing next to us, goes to fill up his cup with Diet Coke, and there's no Diet Coke, and instantly, where's the Diet Coke? And like kind of starts to suck the air out of the entire gas station, right? Even Quincy's like looking at him going, geez, dude, like chill out. And she's 5, right? And so the guy's like, where's the Diet Coke? And he like starts huffing really loud and getting everyone's attention, rallying around him. And then he goes up to the counter and literally starts unloading about Diet Coke. Like, and the lady there that was getting ripped about, like, she was just like, Sarah, just go grab one out of the fridge. Like, she had a great solution to just going over and grabbing one. But this guy really, really blew up.
You wanted the tap.
So, like, yeah, he wanted the tap. But really, at the end of the day, like, he came in very, very hot and heavy. And, like, what was interesting is, like, there's always a solution. And there's generally, like, we tell our employees that there's 99.9% of the time there's a solution. And that other 0.01 is because you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happened here. Is there was a solution, but the guy was thinking so detailed there that it started to take the air out of everyone in the gas station. Everyone just kind of like puts their head down, hurry, and tries to check out because, you know, Mr. I'm better than everyone else, condescending, is trying to get his Diet Coke.
And there's got to, I mean, I would hope, maybe, I don't know if I would hope, but there's got to be a bigger reason why you blow up two random strangers at a gas station over Diet Coke being out on the fountain drinks.
Absolutely.
Like, like that's just, I don't know, maybe not, but I just feel like that's obviously a manifestation of a lot of other stressors and things happening. Sure. And so, yeah.
No, the Diet Coke situation was very interesting, but like looking back at it, I mean, let's take that in a chunky mindset. Like if we were to chunk up a little bit, like we could say, what purpose did this serve? Freaking out at everyone. Okay. And then you could go into even a little bit broader and say,
maybe it made him feel like he was in
how
control,
to make you feel.
Or
right.
Like he's seeking like control over a situation. So maybe there's something going on in his life where he feels like he's not in control, or that he
that's really good.
Like, so then all of a sudden, because he can freak out over a Diet Coke, he feels like he's in control in some way. Like,
I mean, like we could even go back to maybe at 5 years old. Since 5 years old, he's always had a Diet Coke, and like it is habits of drinking a Diet Coke every day. That like it could just be that it's bad habit, and he was literally just like waited way too long for it to get his fix for his habit during that day.
That's so unfortunate.
Like, interesting that like as you guys can see, we literally just took this problem and created so much curiosity behind it that we totally kind of lost track of what the main issue
and we're
was.
Not even in that situation. Like this was that was all just from the outside looking in. But
man, what a great way to explain that to Quincy when we were driving, and just go, hey Quincy, what do you think was going on? And allowing her to create more curiosity too, because that's exactly what she did. We talked about it and said, man, like, what do you think he was going through? Why do you think he was feeling that way? Like, what purpose do you think that serves? And to have a 5-year-old be able to chunk up and look at it for problem resolution was amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that kind of
fascinating,
isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of situations now we could like dissect and like.
We could literally just create a separate podcast called Chunked.
Seriously.
And just chunk everything, right? Like, and it would be fun because it would bring curiosity.
Now I'm thinking back to the situation of the lady that just kind of blew up at me at a store today, and I'm going like, oh man, like now I'm thinking deeper into that, and it's actually kind of interesting to think about.
It almost makes you want to just go give them a hug and say, it's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of scary in that situation. It is kind of scary.
All of a sudden, a bunch of compassion.
Like looking back, yes, but at the time, I'm like, I'm leaving.
I'm
out
of here.
But
it allows you to pull yourself out of that, like that mental funk, right? Some guy just blew up and it made everyone feel bad about, Diet Coke. Well, what happens if this person that got yelled at, the cashier, now goes home and yells at their spouse or loved one or kids because someone blew up to them about Diet Coke? So having the power to like let it go quickly and effortlessly is amazing. Yeah,
being flexible with communication and with like that feedback like that is so powerful. Okay, so now I'm going to just briefly go into a couple details of this situation of the lady that like
let's go.
Yelled at me today, because as we were talking about that, I was thinking, okay, so basically the situation was there's a mom at this store and she had a little baby in a stroller, and our daughter tripped and accidentally bumped into this lady's stroller. And anyways, I didn't even really see that, but this lady just kind of like started coming at us and was very upset, and like without going into the specifics of what she said, like she was not happy.
She's very abrasive.
Yeah. And so like, and for me, I'm like, whoa, like Mama Bear turns on for me, because I'm like, I really don't think that my daughter did anything wrong. Like, sure, we can be aware, we can say we're sorry because, we're nice people, but like, I'm kind of like, holy crap. And so, I handled it, very kindly. And one of the big details though, she was like telling me how her baby just got home from the NICU and how, we could have hurt her baby and all these things. And, and I finally just said, I'm like, that must've been really hard. I'm really sorry. I'm glad that your baby's home and, whatever. And she was not very nice, but we just left. But now I'm like thinking back on this situation, and like, if I'm thinking of it chunking up, it's like, okay, so like, it's not really about what happened there, that like my daughter tripped and bumped into her stroller. Like, I don't know how long her baby was in the NICU, but that situation right there would drive anyone, I would believe, to feel out of control and to feel like afraid, stressed. Like, and so she has her baby like out of that situation now and must feel a very extreme sense of like, I need to protect, I need to be in control. Like I need to, like, she doesn't want something to happen. She doesn't want to end up back in that situation. So her reactions are heightened and just different. And she's probably seeing things completely different than one might normally, just because of the trauma that she's recently been through. So like,
interesting.
Anyways,
I love it.
That's an interesting tangent, but it's so fascinating because I mean, I literally texted Jesse after all that happened and I was like, man, it is just amazing to me how like a complete stranger, like what they say to you and the way they act to you can just completely like change your emotional state and make you feel like just like upset and, you know, like frustrated and like you just want to explode, but you don't want to do that. Like, but having the tools to like bring your emotional state back where you want it and not let that person control your emotional state is powerful.
Absolutely.
And something that like I plan to be a master of someday. I'm getting there.
You're doing great.
But yeah, it's,
you know, I think like taking that experience, and I'm going to move over to the business a little bit because I think that like we do talk about things like that happen, but then there's situations, and we've experienced this before too, where you have a particular client that you just cannot work with, like no matter how much you try. And I remember one specific client that we were able to chunk it back to find out that it was communication is what they truly needed. But what was interesting is the communication that I was providing was very solid. It's just it wasn't the way that they wanted to be communicated with.
Yeah.
So, like, as we found that, then we started to chunk down. So it started off as like they were very mean and abrasive, and then we were able to chunk up to determine that communication they felt was not 100% there because I was texting and they preferred me calling them and explaining every detail. Well, I mean, generally you get caught in the flow of your work and texting is normal. Yeah. But they wanted calls. They wanted being very specific. So as we got back down to that, we were able to chunk down and find out when specifically I needed to call them and when I could text them. And
go back into the micro details of the solution.
Right. And that was, I remember that. But I mean, this client and myself, we were probably about one massive blow up away from me just firing this client because I couldn't work with them anymore.
Yeah.
And that was because I wasn't being flexible enough. Like, you know, what's interesting is there's no such thing as unresourceful people, just unresourceful states, right?
Right.
So you guys, as you're listening to this episode, think about that. If you're not getting along or you're not meshing with that client or that individual, how can you be more resourceful to mesh?
Yeah.
How much more flexible can you be?
And I think that's why it's so important for us to invest in ourselves and educate ourselves and learn and really like improve our personal awareness in every aspect of our life.
For sure.
I mean, I think that we could both agree that at that time in our career, maybe what we lacked was some of these strategies and the, you know, the ability to chunk up and down and the ability to, you know, look at things from that perspective.
Yeah.
So
quick story here, just by chunking up real fast. When we were setting, and this is another episode we'll talk about, is setting standards and not goals at some point. But when we were sitting down with one of our teams that we have, one of our companies, we were able to chunk up so far that it created a unity between 4 people in a room. And that unity, then we could chunk back down and get into the micro details of how we would achieve that specific. Yeah. And like, I'll be honest, like the goals, one of the goals was a 7-figure goal in a month. Like that was our even better goal, life-changing goal or standard that we set. and we'll talk more about that another time. But to be able to see 4 people all making different incomes, all seeing things very differently when it comes to money, all being able to be aligned and then start to chunk down into the micro and how to fill those gaps, everyone walked away with the same purpose.
Because a lot of times I think we try to like take all of these micro details that all of us have in our mind, and it's just it's a mess. It's like, it doesn't make sense. There's no like common like value there. So like determining that common value, that chunk up, determine that common value first. Like what is it that's important to everyone? What is what is that broad general perspective thing, whatever that is important to everyone? And this can apply to marriage, business, everything. Yeah. Like, you know, if you're having a disagreement with a spouse or loved one, like where is the piece of the situation that you can both agree is important to both of you? Like you both want this. So then instead of starting with all these micro details, find that macro detail or chunk up, if you will. And then once you're there, then start going down into the micro and the details and the, you know, the important things, because then it flows and it's like, okay, now we have this core and everything's flowing out of it and flowing down the river like perfectly, rather than like trying to, I don't know, I guess the visual I'm thinking of right now is like, rather than trying to get all these raindrops to like go up back into the cloud, like let the rain fall from the cloud beautifully. Like just let the details flow from the core. From the core. I like that. Don't like try to create the details backwards, because then you're not on the same page. You won't be. Yeah. Because you're both thinking on different ends of the spectrum. Absolutely. One thing too that derived from this stubborn client that I was dealing with is I was able to chunk back my personal emotions and see some of the things. And I realized that it's not that I am not flexible and don't mind communicating via phone, but my time and my time is valuable. So being able to communicate via text is very crucial to my business. For especially certain times of day and for certain times of day. Exactly. Yeah. So I can't be on the phone explaining things for an hour to a particular client 3 times a week during peak hours. And so when I started chunking back and realizing that, I started realizing this is not my ideal client. Yeah. And I had to set new standards to the type of client that I choose to work with. Because I think that should be another podcast to talk about the importance of that, because it is 100% okay and powerful for you to expect and demand that respect for your model of your, like the way you do business and the way that you run your life. Like if you are providing a good or service to someone, like, okay. And there's a few key questions, and I'm not going to share them on this episode. But there were a few key questions that I was able to specifically determine to tell me whether or not this was going to be my client and if we're compatible. And now, once again, no such thing as being unresourceful, like only unresourceful states. Yeah. So then looking at it saying, okay, I still want to serve this client, but they're not going to get the full value working with me that they deserve. And so I was able to recognize that, and we hired another agent so that if they're, feeling like, yes, we want to work with your company, it doesn't specifically have to be you or I. We can send them over to the other agent that fits and is more aligned with that particular client, and they'll have a good experience, right? But you got to ask yourself and chunk up too to determine some of these things. So for sure, real quick, just before we go in a little bit more into detail, just want to take a quick pause and just explain the chunking up one more time, the philosophy. Yeah, so I think if this is something you've never done or heard of before, it can kind of be it takes a minute. It can take a minute to grasp. I can't talk, or at least to learn how to apply over different situations in your life. For sure. So let's use the before we recorded this podcast, let's talk about the Backstreet Boys, right? Oh yeah, Jesse was blasting some Backstreet Boys to get me in the zone.
Okay, so if I was to
started
say
recording.
Backstreet Boys and Ambry, go ahead and chunk up the Backstreet Boys.
Okay. Boy band.
Boy band, like it. Okay,
Even farther?
even farther.
Music.
Music, okay? And hopefully you guys are getting this. Like, Ambry's now broadening up. Now I'm going to even go broader. When's another chunk up?
From music?
Yeah. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, geez. Entertainment.
Here. Ooh. Okay, you guys see that? She went from Backstreet Boys all the way out to entertainment. Now, let's chunk back down. You could go back from entertainment,
music, boy band,
Backstreet Boys, then chunk down.
All right. Nick Carter.
Okay. Ooh, Nick Carter. Okay.
I want it that away.
Yeah. Wow.
You are my fire, my one desire.
Okay, Ambry, you're chunking down about Nick Carter. I'm feeling uncomfortable over here. No, but gosh. You guys, you're able to see that now. So Ambry just went from chunking Backstreet Boys all the way up to
trying to think
entertainment, now all the way down.
Spiky hair, trying to think of all the things that completely branded them.
She just went down and explained or expressed her inner love for Nick Carter and how she wants it that way.
Oh my gosh.
That's
man.
awesome. No, love you, Ambry.
Okay, well,
I know I'm better than Nick Carter.
We completely derailed that, but
you guys get the point. That's the chunk.
That was a good example though, because that's pretty I don't know, pretty simple. So
yeah,
I love it. So, all right, so let's talk about in a situation where you want to try chunking up or chunking down. So let's just say that you are facing a situation either at home with a spouse or at work where someone is upset. There is a disagreement. People are not on the same page. Someone is just...
I've got a good one. Okay. So I get naturally frustrated when I come home and I'm stressed out of my mind. And so I start cleaning, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. And I start cleaning really crazy and throwing towels around, just kind of go into this hyperdrive cleaning. So if I came home feeling that way, Ambry could do what? What kind of question could you ask me?
Well, so if I was trying to chunk up, some examples of questions would be what's the purpose?
Okay.
For what purpose are you, mad cleaning or whatever? Or what is the intention? So for what purpose or what is the intention? Or what is this part of?
Yeah.
Or what is this an example of?
Right.
Not all of those apply specifically to that, but those are 4 things that you can use to chunk up from any situation. So
if Ambry asked me, what's your intention of cleaning? I'd say, I'm just frustrated because this house is a mess and we have too many good things to and this is a real talk track.
But in my mind, go ahead.
And just be we have this house and we have so many amazing things, but yet we treat it like garbage. Right.
Yeah. And in my mind over here, I'm going, okay, that's still pretty micro. Let's keep going, because I don't think that this is really the root of this. So I'm okay, so what's the intention of cleaning?
Well, the intention of cleaning is it makes me feel like I'm taking care of a messy situation.
There you go.
Okay.
So we went from you're just coming home and we have this house and no one's taking care of anything, to you're actually trying to feel like you're taking care of something, that you're in control of the situation, and that you can go and just fix something and do it. Right. So
you could also chunk up even further too, if you feel like that's not the real thing. And if Ambry was okay, so why, what's this an example of? Right. And I could go back and say, well, this is just how my family would react when they were having a stressful day.
Yeah.
And then she could say, so what's the purpose of it? And at that point, it would be
yeah,
I don't really know, Ambry. I'm just cleaning, but I'm glad you asked, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we went way broad there, but you could have even ended it.
Deep and deep and deep. But if you go to the fact of what did you say?
I'm just feeling like I'm providing a solution, right?
Essentially,
I'm cleaning this house.
You said it in a different way just a minute ago, but you feel like you're just getting something done.
Getting it done.
Or whatever. So I might think okay, so maybe Jesse's had a day with work and with like clients or deals or whatever, where he feels like
no one got anything done.
Like everything is just kind of like a mess. Like, and maybe that type of a mess is not one where you can just like get out the cleaning and the rag and clean it up. Like it's more complicated. So you come home and jump into a situation where you can clean, get it done, and see a result.
Right.
So I'm chucking it up going like, okay, Jesse's trying to see a result. He's trying to like see the fruit of his labor right now because he is waiting on things maybe in like a different aspect or in work or something else going on.
Correct.
And so like,
I'm like ready to cry over here. Like, it's like get me.
But how cool is that? Because like I could, like if you come home and you're kind of like hot and heavy and just like you seem a little bit frustrated.
Yeah.
And you just start cleaning up. Like I could take some kind of defense and be like,
absolutely.
Whoa, like, you've been gone for several hours working. And you're just going to come home and like, well, like, what are you doing?
and I mean, that could also have a negative impact to make you feel bad because I'm coming home and cleaning and you're like,
we're in the middle of like living here. So,
right. Well, and like, I can naturally see where it could come across like you feel offended because you think I am thinking that you don't do anything while you're home. Right. Like,
sure,
I mean,
I can see that.
That's a weird,
But I know that can be like a common feeling or frustration with a lot of moms in general, that like if they're at home with the kids for the majority of the time, like if their spouse comes home and responds a certain way, it's like it's really easy to take the defense.
Yeah.
And so chunking up is pretty awesome on both ends too. Like like let's just assume you come home and you start like this like intense, anxious cleaning, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like, and let's just assume for a second that, I get extremely like offended or defensive, and I'm feeling like, oh, you must just think like we didn't do anything. And in my mind, I'm thinking through like, you have no idea what we did all day. Like you have no idea what's happened in this house all day. Like you're just coming in here and like, in my mind, it seems like you're, maybe just
like a seagull in the room coming in, trying to, pooping all over the place and not really taking care of anything.
Just trying to come in and like, in my mind, you're trying to fix a problem. And I'm like, there's not a problem.
There's not a problem.
We're good. Like we are, everyone's happy and healthy. We've had a fantastic day. Like these messes will get cleaned up. But like, I'm thinking maybe in my mind, you came home and you saw messes or things happening and you're upset or stressed out about it. When in your mind, that's not even what you saw. You were just individually trying to like see a result and see like a result of your labor. Like you were trying to come and just see like, if I clean this, I can see the result. It's beautiful. Like I did something and it was productive and it's done.
Well, and maybe there's even that side of me. It's like, man, I'm really trying to clean up this house so that Ambry can enjoy her evening so that she doesn't have to worry about it, right? So there might even be some more intentions there that are completely not even being read because, we're too busy getting offended.
Exactly, yeah. And so, like, but then if I'm experiencing, let's assume I was experiencing those emotions, then I would need to, like, look at myself and go, okay, so, like, what's the purpose of me feeling, like...
This way. Yep.
Defensive or offended or like feeling like I didn't do enough because you're coming home and like cleaning before I could get to it. And I might say like, well, the purpose of that is like, I'm trying to like fulfill what I think looks like a successful role as a mom at home, like, or something like that. Like I'm trying to, like protect my feelings or like whatever.
Right.
And then like, well, what's the intention of that? And you keep going until you realize like, oh, okay. Like you kind of take a step back from those initial like hot emotions and really understand yourself, which is really cool. Once you like deeply understand yourself and the way that you respond, you can change it. And that's another level.
Like it goes back to that.
It's so important to understand and then be able to understand another person as well at the same time.
And it goes back to our other episode about no more family drama.
Yeah, we talk about that one a lot. Like
we do talk about that one a lot.
Programs. And
the fact is you continue to chunk back, the more opportunity you learn about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You're giving yourself the opportunity. So even if you're like the maddest of mad, you still deserve to chunk up.
Yeah.
Because you are giving it to yourself. You simply deserve to know why you're feeling that way. Yeah. It's not about the spilled milk. It's not about the dirty house. There's something more there that you haven't discovered. But once you discover it, it will change the entire scope of your feelings and thoughts, because now you go, holy crap. Like, my results, this is a habit. The cleaning of the house is a habit that has driven from feeling unaccomplished. And now you start recognizing habits and how those habits have shaped your life, and you can go back and fix those.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Once you're aware, things change. Totally.
Very true.
Like Ambry and I have really, really great conversations because we're able to chunk up. I remember this morning I asked her a question. I can't remember the question specifically, but it was a very good chunked up question.
I don't remember either.
To the point where you just looked at me and you're like, wow, that's actually a really good question. I don't have an answer. And you and I are both like, whoa, we chunked up so high we don't even have an answer. Cool.
Yeah.
But it opened up, and then it, like, relationship wise too, like when that happened, I was like, man, I did ask a good question. Yeah. Like you feel really good. So that's the chunking up and down.
So
and
let's take this situation that we just painted then. So like, you come home in a frantic cleaning, and I'm over here like, what the heck is going on? I feel frustrated and like offended, but also like, okay, so like, what's up with Jesse? Like, he's coming in like hot. What's going on?
Right.
So we like chunked up from both of those, and now we are like, okay, so what's the, like, if we were to talk about that, what's the common like understanding? Like maybe let's just go simple in this situation. It's like, when you come home and you're feeling that way, maybe you just say something first. Like, hey, like, I'm feeling like I need to like see a result. I'm going to go ahead and like do a little bit of cleaning. And also that's going to help you enjoy your night, because I know you've worked hard today and you've, done a lot of fun things with the kids. And, this is my purpose of doing that. And then I'm going to be over here going like, oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Like, and maybe we communicate with each other that that's what we need to like see, or maybe it looks like that I need to like, take a step back and understand where you're coming from and not take the defense, like whatever that is. But then you can chunk back down from there and like, create examples, talk about what a good way of doing that is, when and how you would like do those things, and you can chunk back down into the details, and then you're done. You've created a win-win situation from two completely different perspectives.
I remember too, it happened a while ago, but when we were really learning these things, and I remember coming downstairs and I'm looking at you, said, I don't want to fight with you. Like, I do not want an argument whatsoever. I just want you to know that when this happens, this is my trigger and this is how I feel. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome because there was no emotion behind it. It was straight to the point. Mm-hmm. And you and I were able to then say, okay, cool. And we moved on from it.
It's different. Yeah.
And it wasn't a fight. That was the coolest part, is it was just like, hey, like, no, the gloves are off. We're just talking. Everything's fine. Like, and the gloves are off in a good sense here.
I was going to say that, we use that in a different sense.
The gloves are on then. But like, okay, like, this is just how I feel.
We're not even in the ring. We're just talking.
I was able to chunk up so far and understand and pinpoint the reason why I feel this way, that in the future, can you please just let me know? And I think what it was like, just tell me if I'm rambling and you've got too much going on, just let me know that what I have to say is important, and then you'll come back to me, right? Or like,
but understanding your own feelings and why you're feeling the way you are is really powerful.
Yep.
And then you can go into like the details of fixing that and changing how you want the responses to be. Well, I was going to say something and now it's just gone. So
is it the thing that's highlighted there on the computer?
No, it's not. I'm just sitting here like clicking around and like trying to think of what I was wanting to say, but it's okay.
Yeah. The two things I want you guys to all walk away from on this episode is the broader you're thinking, the easier it is to determine the meaning of your feelings. The more broad you're able to chunk up and the more that you're able to put thought into it, it's going to be easier for you to determine that. And then the other thing is nothing's going to be resolved until you find the true meaning, right? Until you finally discover what it is and why cleaning the house, unlike going on an extreme cleaning binger, like why you do that, until you know truly why you do that and what your triggers are, it's not going to fix anything because you're going to continue to do it. So you need to chunk up. You deserve this. Your family deserves this. And you need to start looking at it from a broader horizon.
Yep. I love it.
Amen.
Oh, God.
No.
So, moral of the story today, learn how to chunk up and chunk down. If you have questions, send us a message. If you have any like cool experiences you want to share when you try this week, because it's going to be awesome, send us a message. We'd love to hear about it. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome week.
And we've chunked up so far that we know that when you guys leave us a 5-star review, this is helping us with our total goal and alignment and our vision. So the micro is you guys leaving us that 5-star review, but the chunked up version is being able to create a community, and even broader than that, able to create happiness and joy and a sense of understanding of oneself. And that's the whole purpose of why we're doing this. So by leaving the 5-star review, it goes back to the initial plan of everyone being able to understand a little bit more of their emotions and making this world a better place. So
I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
I would love to be a part of that. So please leave a 5-star review. Share this with your friends, and you guys have a fantastic week.
We look forward to chatting next week.
And hopefully we can hear some of your chunky stories.
Yeah, let's get chunky.
See you guys.
Bye.